Hi, I'm Phil Constantine, and on this episode of Travels with Phil, we're going to the Chief Vann House State Historic Site in Upper Georgia. I'm based in San Diego, so let's take a trip across the country. Matter of fact, about 3/4 of the way across the country, over to this section of northern Georgia. And this used to be Cherokee country, part of the Cherokee Reservation, or maybe not reservation, but at least lands. This is a view of the house, the big brick building there. It is a 2-story building. The white building that you see in the center, just above it there, that is the Visitor Center and Museum. It's a very, very nice facility there. And then you can see a lot of the lands around the building, and these all used to be owned by the Vann family up until about 1832. So it gives you a view of what the community is like. It's near Chatsworth, Georgia. So let's look at the map here. The red marker there points to James Vann's house. This is on the Federal Road, and this is the Cherokee Nation in 1830. You can see where it's located there. And these are the land plots set aside.
All right, more Travels with Phil at the Vann house. This is it right here. And that is the real thing. It changed hands many times before it became a state park, but this is where the Vanns once lived before the Trail of Tears.
So this is the house, one of the many signs that's available outside of the facility, and it does have porticos or the columns on both the front and the rear part of the house, and those were the prices in 2016. Available from the state of Georgia. Now, James Vann, his family owned ferries, taverns, and were fur traders. They got their land about 17 miles north of the Cherokee capital, New Echota, and he had hundreds of acres. He eventually worked on sawmills, grist mills, slave trade. They started construction of the mansion, which was called Diamond Hill, in 1802, and it was one of the fanciest houses in all the United States, definitely among the Cherokee Nation and the East Coast. This is what one of the taverns would have looked like there along the Federal Road, and this is his son, Joseph Vann, who took over from James after James was killed. Now, Joseph, at the age of 21, he had 100 slaves. He became a Cherokee tribal leader. He had 1,000+ acres of land. And around 1832, Georgia was trying to get rid of the wealthy Cherokees, so they passed a law that said Cherokees can't hire white people, and he did. And so the house was confiscated by the state of Georgia. So he was one of the first people removed before the Trail of Tears. Now, that's an image of him and his wife in the museum. Now, this is the building from the outside, and definitely for the early 1800s, this was a fancy, fancy place. They were one of the wealthiest families around, and this is the look inside their living room, a view through their living room. And a very, very nice spot. Look at this piano over in the corner. That is really something special. And they had lots of fireplaces inside the house. And there's another close-up view of the piano. Very, very nice. This is the floating staircase. The only support it had was that one pillar in the corner. And when they tried to get the Vanns to leave the house, they tried to smoke them out, and they threw a burning log there on the landing. You can see the marks. Well, the guy who got the house after it was confiscated said, "Put that out. You don't want to burn down the house." Here's a little bit of indoor-outdoor plumbing, sitting down, and a view of one of the bedrooms. Again, fireplaces all over the spot up there. Fancy, fancy dressers there. This is a shaving kit. The little brush and the mirror there set up. Fancy stuff. So now the Cherokees had a lot of corn husk dolls. These are sort of like that. Now these are bed rope adjusters. And if you ever heard the expression sleep tight, well, that's because instead of springs, they had ropes, and you would tighten them up once they started to get loose. Now, the Vanns had a lot of outside buildings. They may have had as many as 95 buildings outside of the main house. Now, this is what a typical Cherokee house would look like in the area. Now, in the facility itself, this is where they grew some of the food, and this is a corn crib. Now, this one is a reproduction, but a lot of the other buildings there are real. And this is a real building from around the 1800s that was moved here. And this is what it looks like on the inside. You can see a booger mask over the fireplace there. This is sort of a traditional, sort of a common Cherokee home. And you can see here they have lots of signs and information out there at the site itself. This is the blacksmithing area in one of the buildings out there on the scene. Now, his barn was worth over $500. A typical Cherokee home was worth maybe $50. So that gives you an idea how wealthy these folks were from all of their various enterprises. They had a loom there so they could make clothing and fabric material, and then another one of the outbuildings that are out there. There are lots of them around. And this is the visitor center and museum, so let's take a look inside.
Travels with Phil continues. We're in the Vann house, and this is out of Chatsworth, Georgia, and they have a really nice museum in here that shows lots of different things. Typical Cherokee home there, information about James Vann building the house, and he helped sponsor the mission in Spring Place. Then Joseph Vann, the Vann dynasty. Then the removal, things that were left behind, and part of other parts of the Cherokee Nation, Trail of Tears. And then what happened with the Vanns as they moved west. The younger one died when the boiler in the paddle wheeler there exploded. And then Spring Place is the town after the Vanns got through, and then modern Cherokees. In fact, you can hear Tommy there in the background. Tommy Wildcat, that is. There's former Chief Chad Smith. And there's Jack Baker, at-large representative. And a few other folks up here that you may recognize.
So this has been the Vann House in upstate Georgia. Now, to give you an idea, Chief John Ross, the kind of house he had a nice house for Cherokees, but nothing compared to the Vann House there in northern Georgia. So I hope you enjoyed this trip through Cherokee country. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please feel free to make comments below as long as the language is family friendly. And if you like this video, please click on the thumbs up button below. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the circle with my picture in it in the lower right hand corner of the video. The arrow is pointing at it now. And once you have subscribed, you can be notified of when I have a new video posted by clicking on the bell icon in the description field below the video. Thanks again for watching.